Hello. Hello. Welcome to my shitty comics. All in a Dream comics. That's where I went on Colfax Ave over this past weekend. It's at 2901 East Colfax Ave. Let's get a move on. We got ourselves that unofficial era New Marvel. This comic is from it. When I was at Mile High Comics earlier in my vids that I created, I got Fantastic Four 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the title. Original cover price $2.99, direct edition, and I paid $2 for this. The Star Wars. The Star Wars, y'all. Now, in 1973, George Lucas had his script Star Wars Story Synopsis, and then by the end of 74 it became Star Wars The First Draft. It was rewritten also at that time to be called Adventures of the Star Killer, Episode 1, The Star Wars. So this draft Lucas wrote on Star Wars. Dark Horse, like 40 years later, in 2013, 2014, had this 8-issue limited series called The Star Wars. So this is the story of Star Wars from the original script by George Lucas. That cover is by Nick Runge. The characters in here are Anakin Starkiller. Yeah. We also got Prince Valorum, which I think is a Sith Lord who was running Alderaan. You know how those Sith are behind the curtain. Yeah. Star Wars number 8 came out in May 2014. I've got a lot of comics to go through. Thank you for checking out this channel, Sequential Geek. Welcome to the Sequential Head. If you're from the 50s, you're probably scared right now. This is a 50s terror, classic pre-code horror. It's comics in general, especially in America, they're so undeveloped as a market. By the 50s, there was a comic book code, and the pre-code comics, that in itself is a market that's untapped. This is just a reprint here. This is from Eternity Comics. This is the first issue, and this was printed in October 1988. I got this for $5. Let's go back to Star Wars. So here we got Darth Vader Annual number 1, the sketch variant. The original annual came out in February 2016, and the pencils were by Leno Francis Yu, and that story inside is by Kieran Gillen, who also did Wicked and the Divine. I also got this $1 image first, but it's Kieran Gillen is the writer, and this artist-writer combo is also known for doing New Avengers. Got that for $1. We got ourselves here a couple of Free Comic Book Day comics. Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. It's the only sequential biography on Jack Kirby. He did do an autobiography called Street Code before he passed. And this is by Tom Scioli. This is a sample from Tom Scioli's hardcover comic under 10-Speed Press that came out in August this year. It's a biography on Jack Kirby. Written, inked, drawn, everything by Tom Scioli. Will Eisner's got this story, Invisible People. It's this dark, tragic, almost like a Twilight Zone type of sense of like people kind of have these decisions that they make that lead them to some really unfortunate consequences, or they have some random circumstances happen to them that you would think if it happened to you, it would turn out better. These were $10 a piece. Will Eisner, you know, he's the gentleman the Eisner Awards are named after. He's one of the first people to tell creators not to sign the back of that check, to give up rights to their characters. I mean, the circumstances at the time, it's not like you could just say, you know, screw you, I'll go elsewhere, right? Kind of like today. So people had to make do with what they had, and they got screwed over by companies giving up rights to their creations, not getting any residuals, health benefits, things like that. It was Will Eisner who was more into creating a studio. He would tell people to leave a panel open for advertising. He would tell people to do your own thing, create your own stories, own your own material, be involved with as much independent storytelling as possible. And Will Eisner was one of the first people to use the term graphic novel and sequential storytelling. This is The Power, Book 2. Book 1, the synopsis is this guy, Pinchas Pleatnik, is erroneously claimed dead, and no matter what he does, he cannot be accepted as a still existing person. That was Book 1. Book 2 of The Invisible People is also by Will Eisner, of course, and Book 2 here is The Power. It says Morris has a healing power, but when he really wants to use it, he cannot make it work. It's for $10 each. So this place, All in a Dream Comics on Colfax Ave in Denver, you know, it's really hard to get The Crow anywhere, and when I do find what little comic shops have, it's not really in a great condition. So I did manage to get this really beautiful near mint copy of The Crow Flesh and Blood #3. It's a 3-issue limited series. James Vance is the writer. Alexander Maleev is the artist. He went on to do Daredevil with Brian Michael Bendis. It's one of the comics that got me back into comics, and like fully full on back into comics, like going into shops on a weekly basis. This beauty right here is by James O'Bard. James O'Bard did the covers for a lot of the Crow comics post the popularity of the movie. I know he sold the rights for television and film, but with print, James O'Bard still has some rights, if not all, for what's being printed, as far as him collecting residuals. The Crow went from Caliber Comics to Kitchen Sink Comics, and then briefly to Image, where I know Tom McFarlane did a B cover for a Crow Image story. Limited series that came out from Image, and then after that, The Crow has been published under IDW, which is the current label. Let's move forward. I got a lot of comics to show, so thanks a lot for watching. This is That Sequential Geek YouTube channel, and I say welcome to the Sequential Hood. This guy right here is this really cool amalgamation of looks from Nightmare on Elm Street, or The Crow, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Different types of horror genre looks that are incorporated into how they design this guy here. This is Simon Dark. He is a lethal vigilante. He is a violent, dark hero in Gotham. This is written by Steve Niles and Scott Hampton, and it's an 18-issue limited series. The first book is the only issue to have a B cover. It's got like dark arts, kind of dark magic kind of roots here, and he will kill your ass. He will make you bleed. This guy is not friendly. He does have some endearing aspects to him, but he will fuck your shit up. And Simon Dark is a really cool character. I don't know what the hell is going on with these stupid brand identity teams that they got with like Justice League Dark and all the dark magic people got to be together and all this silliness that they have. Started like with what New Avengers and Spider-Man and Wolverine had to join the Avengers. This cross brand identity going on, so they had people from different types of brands like Spider-Man joining the Avengers, and you got all these stupid on the DC side. They got all these teams. You're dark magic. Let's form the dark Justice League. Yeah, so I'm surprised Simon Dark isn't in that hokey stupid bullshit. Anyway, Simon Dark #1 Check it out, y'all. Check it out. The B cover for this is really hard to find. And just trying to get copies of these that aren't banged up is really hard to get. You might have heard of Jim Ruggs, Cartoonist Kayfabe. I'm looking through the long boxes, sifting through. I got these for $5 a piece. So we got Octobriana from 1996. Alright, so trying to figure out the origin of this character is tricky. There's a great video that Jim Rugg made over at Cartoonist Kayfabe. I know that this character was created in Prague. We're talking during the Warsaw Pact, so that was back when the country was Czechoslovakia. And Prague, the capital of the Czech Republic today. These artists from there, these creators, we're going to create like an Amazon type of heroine. Peter Sadecki betrayed his friends, the other two artists, stealing all the artwork and escaping to the west. So this guy escapes to the west, and he tries to market the comic. He changed the dialogue, drew a red star on the character's forehead. He turned this Amazona character into a fake political statement, saying that she embodies the October Revolution. Some inconsistencies in the story, as Octobriana is still widely believed to be the product of dissident cells within the USSR. She is not copyrighted and has appeared in a variety of artistic incarnations, the latest of which is by Jim Rugg. He has the world's first blacklight comic, and he has a Kickstarter campaign for his version of Octobriana. There's issue 0 and issue 1, both coming out in 1996 under Revolution Comics. Speaking of Jim Rugg, real quick, I also got this image first for $1. It's a reprint of Street Angels After School Kung Fu Special. Star Jam Comics. This came out in 1992. Revolutionary Comics. They did rock and roll comics. The first issue of this Star Jam title has a feature on MC Hammer. This issue number 2 here is Janet Jackson. The remaining 8 issues, this ran for 10 issues. They're like, I think 1 is on Madonna. The remaining issues are promos for characters from 90210, actually. Yeah. So I just got this one. Star Jam Comics, the amazing Janet Jackson. This guy wanted $80 for this. I got it for $70. Tandy and Ty are not mutants. Let's make a long story short here. Cloak and Dagger are not mutants. They are not mutants. They're runaways. They had some pharmaceutical drugs tested on them. It's kind of like the Drew Barrymore Firestarter story. They got powers. They're out for blood. Them and like the Crow and Simon Dark. They don't fuck around. They'll hurt you. You do wrong, they'll cut you, man. They'll come after you. They'll fuck with you, man. Don't fuck with... You hear about Cloak and Dagger, man, you're already fucked. That's all I'm saying. This is a beautiful copy. Yeah, I got this for $70. This is a beautiful copy of Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, number 64. Okay, so much for getting decent lighting, showing that off. Origin, first appearance of Cloak and Dagger. March 1982. Here is the Marvel Milestone Edition reprint of Iron Fist number 14, originally printed in 1977. This Marvel Milestone Edition came out in November 1992. The pencils are by Dave Cockrum. Inks, once again, by Al Milgrom. The script is by Chris Claremont, and the internal pencils are John Byrne. First appearance is Sabretooth. It's a newsstand copy of Spawn number 10. Originally, cover date is May 1993. Here you've got the creator of Cerberus, Dave Sim, doing the writing for Spawn issue number 10. I got each of these for $2 a piece. Edgar Allan Poe's Haunts of Horror, Richard Corbin art. This is issue 3 of 3. And H.P. Lovecraft's Haunt of Horror with Richard Corbin art. Here's issue number 3 of 3. From the Marvel Max imprint. I love those timeless stories, really iconic names. Here is Black Hole number 11, first print by Charles Burns. This issue is December 2003. The series itself actually started in 1998, and the 12th issue of Black Hole ended December 2004. Charles Burns also did Curse of the MOLEMEN. Both of these are published by Kitchen Sink Comics. Also got that for $5. Curse of the MOLEMEN, featuring Big Baby. This came out in 1991. Next up, Daniel Clow's 8-Ball. The store had a bunch of comics from 8-Ball, first print, Dan Clow's, that were signed by Dan Clow's. I didn't have the money for them. I mean, this one I paid $8 for. This is a really nice copy. Very fine. I mean, no spine cracks, no spine creases. It's clean on the back. Bright colors, sharp corners. You tell me. I definitely got to up my grading game. But Daniel Clow's is the indie creator that I've featured a lot in past videos. This is a limited run, I want to say limited series, but it's a limited run that ran, the first 18 issues are in this regular modern comic book size format, and that ran from 1989 until like 1997, and then issues 19 through 23 are in this large magazine size format, and those ran from 1998 till 2004. I know the last issue got a Eisner Award. I know that for sure. Throughout his career, Dan Clow's would get awards for his sequential storytelling, in particular stories from 8-Ball, like Harvey Awards, Eagle Awards, Eisner Awards. You've got stories from 8-Ball that have been turned into movies like Ghost World and Art School Confidential. I got this for $8 actually. Fantagraphics Books. Here's some from December 1999. Another James O'Barr cover, actually. Got a couple of spine ticks over here. Creases where the color breaks at the spine. This isn't in, all that great shape. Fine condition. Just got it because I dig James O'Barr's work. And this is actually one of the few comics where you'll see not just James O'Barr work on the cover. There's actually interior artwork by O'Barr up in Rachia. Barbed Wire Halo Studios. Okay. Nice spread. All right. Original Sins #1 from December 1999. And that is published by ACG Comics. You know, like, I'm just thinking, you got Spawn movie that's in the works, right? Jamie Foxx supposedly is going to be playing Spawn under the Blumhouse, I think, production company. And Todd McFarlane, that dark superhero, anti-hero stories. Same thing with Simon Dark. Same thing with The Crow. You got a bunch of people coming back from the dead, basically. Coming from some dark magic, anti-hero brands that, you know, I'm thinking once a Spawn movie or a Crow movie takes off, then the rest of these IPOs are going to follow. Yeah, I like to pick up near mint copies of Free Comic Book Day icons, landmarks through comic book history, through pop culture history, stuff that's going to be timeless. Printed by Hermes Press, that is written and drawn by Rick Yeager, and this is a reprint of a couple of Sunday newspaper stories with Buck Rogers and Wilma Deering. This came out originally, this reprint, this Free Comic Book Day reprint came out in 2013. Free Comic Book Day reprint that came out in May 2016. This cover is by Brandon McKinney. The script is by Shannon Lee. This is a reprint from Bruce Lee, The Dragon Rises from Magnetic Press. Of that same year, actually, 2016. I did manage to find this really nice near mint copy of The New Mutants double-sized. It is a direct edition from November 1984 is the publication date of this Bill Sienkiewicz New Mutants #21. Of course, written by Chris Claremont. Rise of the Midnight Suns, Part 1. Direct edition. This came out, cover date August 1992. That cover is by Andy Kubert. Inks by Joe Kubert. I paid $2 for this, and it's in great shape. I'm psyched that I got it. I'm not that big of a fan of comics from the 90s, but it is an Andy Kubert cover. And it's got the Rise of the Midnight Suns. And when the whole dark superhero teams come out on Disney Plus or whatever, I will flip this one for sure. Rise of the Midnight Suns. Can you dig it? Just in time for Halloween, don't you know? Got myself another Caliber Comics 16-month calendar from 1996. There is no James O'Barr art inside. I already looked. If there was, I would have showed it. It's still in great condition. That's why I bagged and boarded it. If it was beat up, I wouldn't have bagged it up. I've already got a couple of nice copies of this, so next one I find, I'll show you each month's image. Caliber Comics rules. So does Ripoff Press. Rockers. This is by R.L. Crabb, C-R-A-B-B. And this came out in 1988 from Ripoff Press. The series itself, it ran for a total of 8 issues. Bernie Wrightson, Joseph H. Monks. Got ourselves a Bernie Wrightson cover right there from the year 2000. Chanty Monk Studios is the publisher. Bernie Wrightson did the pencils for the first 3 stories of this horror anthology. He did do the writing on that 3rd story. And there's a total of 6 short stories in this horror comic. And I paid $10. Rock and Roll High School. Pencils on that cover, pencils and inks by Frank Kozik, and the story is by Bob Fingerman. Pencils, interior by Shane Oakley, and the inks are actually by Jason Lutz, who's known from doing the comic Drawn in Quarterlies Berlin. This is actually published by Roger Corman's Cosmic Comics, and I paid $5 for that. Featuring the Melvins. Gotta know this band. It's like hard rock, grunge, punk band out of Washington. I had to get it. Alright, let's wrap this up with a couple of Marvel comics. This is Night Thrasher, number 2, newsstand. Now, Night Thrasher, his first series that he was in lasted 4 issues, and that was called For Control, like F-O-U-R, Control. And For Control came out in 1992, written by Fabian Nicieza, and art by Javier Solteras, and that's the same team on this next run of Night Thrasher. 21 issues. Cover date April 1995 is the last issue. And the first issue came out August 1993, and here we got issue number 2 from September 1993. Now, Night Thrasher was created by Ron Frenz and Tom DeFalco. His first appearance is December 1989 out of Thor number 411. The real name of Night Thrasher is Dwayne Michael Taylor. He's out of New York City. He saw his wealthy parents slain before his very eyes. This event drove him to become the fighting machine in pursuit of vengeance. Night Thrasher. So I wanted to pick up Night Thrasher issue number 2 just because I figured it's a newsstand. It's in pristine condition. It might not be from the first limited series from Night Thrasher, but it's the first ongoing run. It's a 2nd issue. It's an early issue. Near mint condition, newsstand, which makes it rare, especially for coming out in the early 90s. So I figured $2, I'm going to buy it and see if I could eventually flip it for whatever I can get for it when this character comes out in a video game, or in a movie, or probably in some group of heroes that are street-based, because you got to keep all those brands together. There isn't a lot being done with street-based heroes, and everything comes in waves. Things shift gears. You know, like I was saying before about the brand identity similarities between like the Crow, Simon Dark, and Spawn. They're still got that street hero-based motif that they can appeal to, they can fit into. So can Night Thrasher. So, you buy low, you sell high. I'm not all about flipping, but if I can get something cheap, I like to keep my eye out for stuff that's under $5 in near mint. That's with something iconic that I think is going to have some longevity with brand identity. So, if I got room, I'll drop a few bucks here and there on little investments like this. Once again, buy what you like, invest in what you know, what you think you know. I like both aspects of this, and what I think I know about this is an investment, and I'm okay with it if it doesn't take off because I buy what I like. I dig what this character is about. The last issue of my haul is the last issue of New Mutants. I was going through some boxes over at the comic book shop. Came across this, and I've already got multiple copies of this, but not in newsstand. The first print is this issue right here, and it came out in April 1991. You've got the second and third printing that have a white background, but the second printing, the print is in gold. Those numbers in the back, right? That would be a white background with gold 100 final issue. And then the third printing would have the white background, but silver would be the font of these background characters. So this is Pencils Inc.'s story by Rob Liefeld, and it's when the New Mutants officially leave the mansion and become X-Force. Thank you so much for watching my comic book haul. Y'all stay safe,